Today's video is sponsored by Forever Pick, exotic wood guitar picks. Handmade one at a time in Chicago, Illinois, you can choose from a selection of exotic woods that will actually improve your guitar's tone. Take advantage of an exclusive 25% off coupon when you buy the full 6-pack at the link in the description. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel, and I sure appreciate it.
Hey y'all, it's a shitpost weekend on Channel 2.
Also saw this neat little article. This guy is a designer. He formerly worked for NASA. He's as a contractor. He's a wood carver, and he designed this guitar commemorating the journey of Apollo 11 and the first men walking on the moon for the 50th anniversary celebrations this last summer. And this guitar was built by Martin.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, my name, of course, is Scott Phillips, and I worked at the Marshall Space Flight Center, the home of the Saturn V. I was a wood carver, and I carved all the space shuttle models. And so on Apollo 14 back in 1971, Stu Roosa, the astronaut, and you can look it up online, took up tree seeds to the moon. Now, when he brought the seeds back, half of them died, and they germinated a sycamore at the Kennedy Space Center to honor not only his flight, but the 200th anniversary of America. Well, Irma, if we all remember last year or two, knocked it down. Because I carved those models for 30 years, the center director remembered and cut a 24-inch log for us to use the wood. So we actually have moonwood. We wanted something world-class, and I knew Martin could do this, and so we provided some moonwood, and so you're seeing, for the first time in history, the moonwood guitar to signify the 50th anniversary of the moon landing.
But I thought it's just a really cool looking guitar. I had not seen this yet. I saw actually some really cool Martin custom guitars when I was at Summer NAMM. This was not one of them. I did not see this one there. Although it may have been there, I did not see it. Okay, this is an old story. This has apparently been up on the web for a little while, but this is something that just seems to be making the rounds again in the guitar forums. I've seen a couple different people post it on my Facebook page, you know, and if you see that starting to happen, you know something's happened to kick it back into the news. So I thought I would cover this and see what you guys think about this. This news website claims that Morgan Freeman is actually Jimi Hendrix, and that Jimi Hendrix faked his own death and basically became Morgan Freeman in the 1970s. So this website is pretty light on evidence, I have to say. They're really only saying that, using as evidence that Morgan Freeman had a sudden rise to fame in the 1970s after Hendrix supposedly died. And they show a couple of different photographs of Hendrix and Morgan Freeman with the same girl. They don't even really prove that it is the same girl. And then they go on to draw some lines on each of their hands and claim that the lines are somehow the same, but they're not even positioned in the same place on the hands, which is just stupid. Now, I mean, if you're going to make a conspiracy theory, really, you need to do better than this. Fuck, I could do better than this in my sleep. They really have nothing. There's nothing to this. They just have a picture of Morgan Freeman smoking and Jimi Hendrix smoking. So they both smoke? Is that proof? I mean, I will admit they do kind of look alike. But Jimi Hendrix had none of the blotches on his skin, the little spots that Morgan Freeman has. You know, he has like those freckle spots. It's kind of a characteristic of his face, and Jimi Hendrix never had any of that. So what are you saying, that Morgan Freeman just goes every day and gets a Sharpie and like puts little spots on his face so that he can not be Jimi Hendrix? Okay, it does say that Morgan Freeman admitted once on Piers Morgan Tonight that he was left-handed, but he cannot move his fingers on his left hand because of some kind of car accident that he was in. He has to wear a compression glove. I don't know. You tell me, what do you think? Is Morgan Freeman really Jimi Hendrix in disguise? He was just so tired of the fame and fortune that he had to go and become famous and and rich again. You tell me what's going on here. And then for some weird reason, you know, it's not even like he was trying to get away from music or something, you know. For some weird reason, he goes and buys like a Memphis bar and, you know, has live music in there all the time. So He just couldn't stay away from it. Did he change his mind after a while? I'm not sure what's going on with this. This is retarded. I'm not even sure why I fucking reported on it. Elsewhere in the world of guitar, this chick who obviously can't afford a shirt, but her name is it Delavigne or is it Delavigne? That reminds me, it's like when I was growing up, I collected baseball cards and stuff, and Greg Gagne of the Minnesota Twins, I always thought his name was Greg Gagne. And I always made fun of him and called him Greg Gagme. Anyway. But I mean, she's not half bad. I mean, she could play behind her head better than I can, with her tits half hanging out and everything. Eric Clapton's Crossroads Guitar Festival to be simulcast September 20th and 21st from Dallas. What I thought was weird about this, okay, they're going to simulcast this concert, which has got like just a veritable who's who of the old guitar player world, including Eric Clapton, John Mayer, Jeff Beck, Joe Walsh, Bonnie Raitt, Sheryl Crow, Peter Frampton, Robert Cray, Vince Gill, Tedeschi Trucks Band, and a bunch of other people. So they're going to do 2 nights of this, and all of the proceeds, it looks like, are going to go to Eric Clapton's Rich Man's Island Retreat, Crossroads. And it's no wonder he can't make it to the top of the highest paid guitarists of all time list if he keeps giving his money away to his drug rehab center. But anyway, they're going to simulcast this on the September the 20th and 21st, but the only people who are going to pick up the simulcast are like people who run bars and restaurants. So this will be something that can be shown in bars and restaurants. I guess you can buy a license to simulcast, but I can't imagine how much it's going to be if you're they're only really promoting it to bar owners and people like that. So anyway, you can go on the company's website and you can figure out where all it's going to be simulcast. So if you wanted to go check it out, you can see if your favorite bar is going to be carrying the simulcast, or maybe you could ask them if they would carry the simulcast. I'll link that down in the description if you want to check that out and see who's carrying it near you. Okay, and in the world of guitar on YouTube, first of all, the big one that everybody has probably seen by now, the world's largest guitar pedal board. Rob Scallon and a bunch of pedal manufacturers, including Wampler and others, got together with Sweetwater to put together the world's largest pedal board. 300 plus pedals. I'm not sure how many boards, and apparently they've taken apart the board and they've sent all these different boards out to YouTubers and people as a promotion. I, of course, did not get one. I don't know what almost 80,000 subscribers buys you these days, but it's not a pedal board. Thanks a lot, Matthew. Matthew from Sweetwater, who you're supposed to be looking out for me, Matthew. And where's my pedal board, Matthew? But seriously, if you're into pedals, I suppose it's pretty cool. Pretty much every clip that they play, though, sounds like utter shit, which is not surprising to me when you've got 300 pedals lined up, and your signal chain is just going to be deteriorated as shit. Actually, at one point he kind of just stomps everything on and sort of just listens to the sound of all of the pedals in the on state, and it's just like about like you think it would sound. It's just awful. But surprisingly though, it was fairly quiet. There wasn't a whole lot of hiss. I just it's an interesting thing. But I'll put it out there. All right, I'll say it. Nobody else will say it, so I will. Okay, you ready for this? I have absolutely nothing against Rob Scallon. I don't know the guy. Never met him. He obviously he's not running in circles that I would run in anyway, so it's not like I'm going to offend the guy. But great player. I mean, if you go back to some of his older videos, it's just him sitting with an acoustic guitar or something, and it's just him on his own doing solo acoustic guitar, and sounds fantastic. Phenomenal player. Great stuff. But, I don't know at what point YouTube turned into, how sensational we can make every single video that we fucking do. But, at some point it just seems to have gotten lost in a morass of that. It's like, okay, everything now has to have some clever edge or something, you know, something like that. It can't just be, all right, I'm a musician and I'm playing the fucking guitar, or I'm recording with my friends and here's what came out, or, you know, it can't ever just be that. Videos that do just that basically end up at the bottom of the pile and never get seen. And I think maybe he figured that out early on, and that's why he kind of moved into this. But, you know, I believe it's the algorithm, too, that kind of encourages this kind of craziness. You know, I mean, obviously, this is a little bit of an exception because they're going for a world record, which is kind of cool. That kind of gets a pass. But, you know, a lot of channels like Rob's and like Stevie T's and like Jared Dines and, you know, some of the bigger YouTubers who are in the guitar realm, a lot of the content is just really goes off the deep end. And, you know, unless you're trying to play a System of a Down song on a fucking Theorbo, you're not going to get anywhere, apparently. You'll be spinning your wheels trying to make Shitpost Friday videos week after week after week after week, knowing full well it's not going to be sent out to a whole bunch of new people who might subscribe because, you know, you say the word shit about 3 or 4 or 5 times in it. So anyway, there's that. You know, and then you've got the average guys who are trying to just, you know, slog on doing the pedal demos or doing the guitar demos and the gear demos that they've always done and always been successful at, or moderately successful at least at, and they can't get any views anymore doing just that stuff, you know, which I understand because it's the, you know, the viewership, the market's flooded with that stuff. So you're going to have to do something very special to get seen anymore. And unless you're trying to attempt a world record at something, you know, it's becoming increasingly hard to be heard on YouTube. Which brings me to my next thing. All right, who's got a bunch of pedals and a bunch of pedal boards and you want to try to break this new record? What is it, just like 300 and something pedals? I believe we can do that. Who wants to partner with me? Let's break the record. It shouldn't be that difficult. 300 is not that many. But they say it was like almost $100,000 worth of gear. I think I could find 300 secondhand pedals that will be a lot cheaper than that. Who's with me? I'll go around to the pawn shops and we'll get some pawn shop sponsorships. I just won't go to Mr. Money. I'll stay away from Mr. Money. All right, so that's going to do it for the news. All right, as you guys know, a guy named Don Logan has sent me a bunch of catalogs, and I thought we might check out a few more of those catalogs here now, and let's go ahead and do that. Look at that. That's Hamer. Let's do a Hamer. Let's do Hamer. 1983, 2-page full line with price list. Hamer guitars. Interesting thing about Hamer and this channel is that one of our sponsors, Forever Pick, the guy who makes those used to work for Hamer. Rob Paul, he used to work for Hamer. So, Rob, you should appreciate this if you're watching. Yeah, very cool. I've never seen that model. Have I seen that model? That's a weirdo. Yeah, isn't that like the California or something? I forget. Maybe not. Wholesale and retail. Now, of course, the actual sale price would be somewhere in between. But you're still, you know, you're easily looking at over $1,000 for that guitar right there. For the standard. But there you go, piece of Hamer history. Oh, okay, so this gives you a... There, if you want to figure out on the front page, if you want to try to match the number right there. So there you go. Wait a minute, that can't be right. That's not right. Oh, it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. Okay, so they've just made one very large photo. Great guitars, Hamer. It's really sad that Hamer, went out of business, closed up shop, or at least the original Hamer did. I think somebody is actually making new Hamers now, but they're all imports, and they're not the same. After something goes all import like that, it's just not the same company. So if you're into the history of the company, it only really has the loosest basis in reality. Some of the stuff that they come back with recently, Harmony guitars and Supro amplifiers, and just the resurrection of some of these old names, and even Dan Electro guitars and stuff like that. I only really have probably a cursory interest, just simply because it's not, it's not the same company that made the original stuff, and that's not the reason I don't really seek it out. It's just that if I'm going to collect something, obviously I want to go to the source. I want to collect a Hamer from when they were making them in the U.S., like an original Hamer. I'm not going to probably not going to go spend a whole lot of money on something that's an import. I might if it's, if I get a good deal on something and it looks good and all that stuff, yeah, I might go for one, but it would have to be a pretty special set of circumstances for me to be interested in like an import Hamer, or like even an import Gretsch, like a Japanese Gretsch. I know they're making them nicely and all, but it's really hard for me to justify spending over $1,000 on a Japanese Gretsch. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, why the hell would I do that when I could just buy a 70s Gretsch, and it would be like the original company, But anyway, so that's Don. Man, I can't thank you enough for all this, dude. I mean, there we've got PV Night from 1988. Let's see what else we might look at in a future video. We've got more PV stuff, early PV schematics. So lots of stuff there I might use one day. Celestion speakers from, 1988, he reckons. There's a Fender 1990 brochure with a standard Strat in it, Ultimate Strat, Telly's 89 Fender, 1990 Ibanez, small format brochure, includes the Steve Vai, Satriani models, high watt stuff. Wow, that could be cool. Look at that. Alright, as you guys might have seen, this past week, I uploaded a video showing a guitar unboxing that was just really, really special. A gentleman named Dennis Ponzio out of Anaheim, California, who is a builder of guitars, just as a total surprise, sent me a guitar that he custom built himself, and I will leave a link down here somewhere or up in a card where you can go check that out. I didn't get to demo that guitar, so let's check out that guitar.